Kia ora te whānau, welcome back. Muslim leaders in New Zealand have condemned Friday's attack, but some are already reporting an increase in anti-Muslim sentiment. Imam Mustenza Kamar campaigns against so-called Islamic-inspired extremism, and he's with us from Lower Hutt this morning. Tēnā koe, welcome to Q&A. Mustenza, I wondered first of all about your reaction to Friday's attack.
Assalamu alaikum, tēnā koe. Firstly, we strongly condemn this heinous and utterly inhumane attack in the strongest possible terms. Our heartfelt prayers are with the victims of these attacks and all those who have been affected. Such grievous attacks are completely against the teachings of Islam. Our religion does not permit terrorism or extremism under any circumstances, and anyone who claims otherwise acts against the teachings of the Holy Quran and contrary to the noble character of the holy founder of Islam. But obviously it was really shocking, especially to hear that it was someone who claimed to be a Muslim and also sympathized with an extremist ideology as well.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that. What is it like to be a Muslim leader when you hear about an attack of this nature committed by someone who claims to be motivated by Islam?
I mean, it's almost like it's double whammy kind of thing, because firstly, it's a horrendous attack. Any innocent person being attacked is horrendous to hear about. And then on top of that, someone who's done it in the name of our faith makes it even more difficult to digest. It's almost like saying, well, our faith teaches this. Whereas we know, and I've studied this in a lot of detail, that Islam does not permit this at all. And that's why it becomes almost like a double whammy, and it becomes very difficult to digest.
I know Muslim leaders in New Zealand have condemned the attack, and it's important to point out we know this man's views are not representative of New Zealand Muslims. But in your opinion, are there likely to be other people in New Zealand who share similar views?
The thing is, I don't know about other people in New Zealand. If I did, I would obviously teach them about the correct understanding of Islam. Within our community, we have a big emphasis on education and understanding even about the correct concept regarding jihad. For the 132 years that our community has been established internationally with tens of millions of members, we've never had an instance of anyone ever being radicalized because of that emphasis on education. And to take it back to that point about jihad, that looking at some of the books of some medieval Muslim scholars and other even contemporary scholars, there are unfortunately some very extreme views about and what I would call misunderstandings about the concept of jihad. And because of that, then I know in other parts of the world this view is prevalent, though many do not act upon it. But in New Zealand in particular, I'm not sure of anyone who ascribes to this.
Do you think our counter-terrorism laws as they stand are fit for purpose?
I mean, looking at what happened just on Friday, obviously he was under surveillance, and I feel like maybe they do need to be revised a bit, because if someone's sympathizing with an extremist ideology, we should try and prevent anything like this happening. It shouldn't be that, we wait until something happens and then only the law can be brought in. I think Judith mentioned as well, or it was mentioned earlier in the program, about other countries who have laws which can prevent even the planning of terrorist attacks. So I think that's something to think about for the lawmakers.
You think that we should have laws that explicitly would prosecute someone for planning an attack?
For planning an attack, definitely, yes.
Do you support the SIS and intelligence services continuing to monitor people suspected of having extremist ideology?
I do, and even our worldwide Caliph, His Holiness Mirza Masroor Ahmad, he's even mentioned that a couple of years ago in the UK, that even mosques can be monitored, and even the sermons of imams. I would happily even allow the intelligence services to even monitor my own sermons as well. And I think that's important to know that the mosques are not, giving out any extremist messages as well.
just to be really clear on that, you would be comfortable with the intelligence services in New Zealand monitoring your sermons in the mosque?
I would be comfortable with it. Our worldwide caliph has mentioned that for the UK as well. And I'd be comfortable with it because I've got nothing to hide. Our views on Islam are very clear. Even these misconceptions out there on jihad and stuff, our views are very clear about those. So I'd be very comfortable with that.
Again, I want to be really clear. Muslim leaders around New Zealand have been swift in condemning this attack. I mean, we have seen people at the Al Noor Mosque in Christchurch raising money for the victims of Friday's attack. And I'm not suggesting for a moment that the Muslim community bears a responsibility for this attack. But do you think at large Islam has a responsibility to push back against individuals with extremist views?
I mean, the fact of the matter is that they are ascribing to our faith, right? And they're saying that, you know, they're finding justification from this, from the Holy Quran and from the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him. And therefore, I feel that it is important that Muslim leaders, Muslim community, we do fight back on this. We show and we prove through our scriptures, through the Holy Quran, through the life of the Prophet Muhammad, that this is not Islamic. And so that when you understand the true teachings of Islam, you're able to distance the actions of these Muslims from the religion itself. And you realize that they're actually criminals. They're going completely against the teachings of Islam. And it's not the faith which is responsible, it's their individual actions, just as was highlighted, that it's the individual actions of these individuals which should be condemned. It's not our faith which is responsible. It's not Islam which is responsible for this. And I feel that we need to highlight that correct understanding, especially regarding concepts like jihad, which are responsible for such heinous attacks.
Yeah, I know you've done a lot of work in this space. Just yesterday you appeared at a public panel promoting peace and promoting your efforts to push back against extremist views within Islam. How do you go about doing that?
Well, yesterday, coincidentally, we had a peace symposium, and the theme for it was countering violent extremism. And that was because of the National Hui in June earlier this year, which also had that same theme. So we thought we'd carry that on and share it with a wider community. But I ended up changing my talk to countering violent Islamic extremism and highlighting some solutions to that. But even for a number of years, we've started a nationwide campaign. You can probably see I'm wearing this jacket as well, which says "Meet a Muslim" on it, and it highlights our campaign. We just earlier in March, we went across the whole country to every city of New Zealand with our Meet a Muslim campaign. We were out on the streets wearing shirts saying "I'm a Muslim, ask me anything," with a whiteboard saying, "Meet a Muslim, ask me anything." We want to essentially get rid of misunderstandings and humanize that relationship. But also we've met people even who've been influenced by the far right, and we've had discussions with them, and they've had a complete turnaround, because once you understand what the true Islamic teachings are, the correct understanding of these, it changes perception. So it's not only changing perceptions of Muslims by giving these correct understandings about Islam, but it's also even influencing the far right, which they drive their narrative from such things as well. From such misunderstandings, from so-called scholars who are promoting such things as well. So it's important that we all understand this, and that can help eliminate these things. And we also have like different exhibitions across the country. We have Quran exhibitions where we also hold seminars throughout the day, which are on the Quran and terrorism in particular. But I feel like maybe in the coming days, I'll probably have a bit more efforts on social media as well, because a lot of people who are radicalized are unfortunately radicalized on social media. So maybe we need to be doing a bit more efforts on highlighting these and the correct understanding on social media in particular. So I'll be doing that in the coming days as well.
Thank you very much for giving us your time this morning. We really appreciate it. That is Imam Mostenza Kamar.